Hey YouTube, this is Dean making another vid. If you like my content, please consider hitting the like button. Also, please consider subscribing, as it is very much appreciated. This one is another video for PeteB from BushcraftOz. He's still asking about, he's asking about file strikers and using them this time, how to use them from your posts. I get the impression you're using the drop spark method. Now, this is a fine method of using it, but it's not my preferred method. Again, with all these sort of things, do it how you want to do it. I can only show you how I do it and how I have success with it. But with all this stuff, it is how you should do it, how you feel comfortable doing it. I am by no means an expert at this stuff. I just do it how I do it. I tend to have a bit of success with it the way I do it, and then I can only show you how I do it, and then take it from there and see how you can do it and how you get success with it. What I'm gathering from your posts is you've got a complete file. Now, that's a flat bastard file. It's a big file. It's got the teeth haven't been ground off, which is exactly what I think you've got. I don't like using these files like that because, for one, they're too big, unwieldy, and the teeth will chip your edge out really badly. What I suggest is putting it in a vise, hitting it with a hammer, and it'll snap off to a usable size like that. Now, that one, I actually put that one in the forge, punched a hole in and ground it to shape, and then it's been forged, so it's been quenched. But that's neither here nor there. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is put it in a vise, snap it, and then grind it, keeping it cool, just so that the edges are all smooth, but you don't change the temper on it. Because once the edges are smooth and it's in a shape that's in a size that's easily manageable, I then use the pinch grip like I'm showing you there. Just hold it like that, and then put your char cloth on top, rip it in half, get nice fuzzy edges on the edge there, put it right up next to your leading edge, sharp edge, and then, well, that's actually not a very good edge. I should pick a better rock. Doing a proper demonstration for you. Nice sharp edge. Put it up against the sharp edge. Just pin it there so it doesn't move. And then just, that's a soft stone, not a very good stone at all. Again, sorry about that, mate. Get a bed of rock. Piece of flint. I know that stuff's not soft. Nice sharp edge. Put it up against the edge. And just until you get embers. What I think you're doing is putting your char cloth there, pinning your material. And while I don't like doing that to flint, because I haven't ground the teeth on this, it will really be hard on the stone. But that's fine, I've got plenty of stones. I assume you're doing it this way. Don't really like doing the drop spark method, especially on files that don't have the teeth ground off it, because they don't really spark very well. See how it's not really generating a lot of sparks? And there we go. And you get embers. But it doesn't generate a lot of sparks because the teeth tear the hell out of your stone. It's a small, it's really hard with the smaller strikers because the drop spark method doesn't really work well for that, but it should generate reasonable amount of sparks. This one should generate a lot more better sparks than that. Doing it properly, as you can see, that one generates quite a lot of sparks on a good edge. I hope that's coming up. Even on a reasonably blunt stone, which that one is. I have to go through that bucket. That's my working bucket of stones. I've chipped the hell out of all those ones at the moment. That one's a pretty good stone. That's all on quartzite. But that's what I suggest doing. Get your file, snap it off. If you don't want to use a good file, go to the markets and buy an old Wilkinshire or Nicholson, Australia. They sell them at the markets for $5 or $3 for an old file. Sometimes they're giving them away because they're old and rusty and people don't want them. Even if they're rusty, that doesn't matter. Just as I said, put it in a vise. They are fairly brittle. Just put it in a vise like that. There, put a piece of cloth over it and hit it with a hammer. The cloth will stop it from flying all over the joint because you don't want it flying away from you. Then, yeah, just hit it on a grinder, dipping it constantly. Just grind the teeth off it and do the bevel too, so that around there, and leave the teeth on the side here so that it gives you good grip. But I suggest cutting it down to about that size, and then just use the pinch grip like that. It's just pinching it on the sides, and then I always find it best to put my char cloth. I always rip it in half because that exposes those fuzzy edges. They're the ones that pick up the sparks better. Fold it in half so you've got twice as many things to think. Always put it on top, because if you're striking like this here, most of the sparks will go up like that. Some will go down, but most of them go up, and that way picks up a spark. That one was actually on a first strike, but I hit it again anyway. It doesn't matter how many strikes it takes to get. It's the end result that matters, whether you get a spark or not into the char cloth. Once you get a little bit better, go for one strike spark. That's just mastery of the craft, but at first it doesn't matter. And even now, I've been doing this for a couple of years trying to master the craft, but I don't really advocate for one strike sparks as such, but for mastery of the craft I do. So if you go back through my playlist, you'll see what I'm talking about there. But just with file strikers, the drop down spark method, it's okay, but I don't have I've never had much success with it. I tend to just break them off and use them as a proper striker, because using the whole file tends to be, for one, it's bloody unwieldy. It's actually a file, and I like to have them in kits and stuff. So break it down to a usable size, and then you can use it properly then, and hold it in your hands and put in the rocks in your hand and be able to manipulate it then, because a lot of the time depends on what size stones you get too, you know, like because the stones vary too, so you know, like that's how it goes. But you'll eventually find, if you get into flint and steel, which I find a lot of people, once they get into it and they start loving it, you'll want to progress on from files and get yourself a Smith's made striker, and they have all various shapes and stuff. But some people go their as I said on my post in BushcraftOz, some people go their entire lives using a file, unquenched file, as their striker, and that's perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. And files have lit a lot of fires. It's just the way it is. But yeah, they do. They work. They're quite hard. But what I was saying about quenching is these are made as a tool. So while they are quenched and they're quite hard, they still temper them so they don't break. If you drop them, they will break, but they don't break as often. Whereas if you quench them, I put that in the quench tank straight into water, and it's as hard. This one will be harder than that because that was quenched in water. Where this was probably quenched in oil and then put in an oven and tempered. So it was probably taken to about 65 Rockwell and then brought back to 61 Rockwell. This probably won't even hear how that's skating across that striker. It's not even filing it's not even cutting into that steel, where that file normally would be able to file steel, but it's not even touching that file because it's harder than that file. So you know, that's what it is. I've made that specifically as hard as I can possibly get, and it sparks even better if I can get onto a sharp edge. As I said, these rocks are pretty blunt. It sparks. That's a terrible demonstration. It sparks even better than a normal file does because I quenched it. Whereas a standard file, they do spark all right. They spark pretty good, but I think if you quench it, they even spark better. Anyway, I hope that helps. Yeah, bit of a long, rambly one, but I think that the subject matter deserves a little bit of a bit more of an explanation because, yeah, it is a little bit of a complicated one, but it mainly goes towards what you feel like doing. It's yeah, it comes down to that more than anything else. Yeah, if you're comfortable with doing the drop spark method, do it. But I definitely suggest taking the teeth off that. All you'll do is chip your stones out, and they won't last as long, because that's what I've done with all those stones at the moment. And you see, they don't spark as well. The sharper the edge on the stone, the better the sparks are. It's as simple as that. And I have to go through that and break all those stones up again to get them sharp again, because yeah, they're not sparking as well as I need them to be. So those rocks will get converted over, and I'll get new ones in here again, and they'll all be sharp again, and I'll be right again. Anyway, I hope that helps, mate. Yeah, thanks for watching.